Imagine transforming an 8-person manual testing process that takes hundreds of hours into an automated situation or system that automates hundreds of scripts in only minutes. The 16% of respondents to one of the surveys that they launch feels that high maintenance cost is one of the significant challenges of automated testing or software testing in general.
If I write code to test my code, who will test the code that I have written to test my code?
Testing people, don't be afraid. You're not gonna lose your job because there's more. I think there's more that we weren't gonna be needed, right? Especially testing the LLM. There's a lot of things here.
AI, it's been evolving daily. It's been crazy, and talking specifically, in the testing world, we've been seeing a lot of use cases being attempted by different organizations, right? Starting from the usual suspects in introducing more AI and generative AI in the test automation to obviously generate code. That's the kind of the typical use of AI in testing for now. But also, applying self-healing to those automated tests. That's something that's been AI has made that simpler to accomplish and easier to make that actually work. The self-healing actually work. Almost like bulletproofing, if you will, the script maintenance. But it's not perfect. Obviously, AI is not perfect, and I don't think any of us should expect it to be perfect, because when a human actually does, goes through those tasks, it's also not perfect. So it's just a matter of getting more comfortable with that mindset. The other use case that we're seeing a lot of people experiment is basically using natural language to create tests, be it manual tests or automated tests. So you can provide a set of instructions. You can type them as if you were, for example, click on, the submit button. You just type it in English, and then AI goes and translates that into whatever programming language that you use, and you don't have to worry about, UI elements or locators and that kind of stuff. So it does accelerate a little bit that creation process or that automation process. But then also, instead of you typing it directly, you can pull that information from requirements documents or user stories, whatever, right? And then have AI translate those into tests. So help you do test design, help you do test creation, and help you do automation as well. And we're seeing evolution in different levels of success in companies attempting to do those things. And then, more, there's a few more. The test data generation, obviously, is a big one that AI is helping, generate synthetic data based on a, certain set of data that is shared. Performance testing, we're seeing a lot of, great use cases also in helping with correlation. For the folks in the performance testing world know that correlation in performance testing is usually one of the biggest challenges, and AI is definitely helping the team members or performance engineers do that much more efficiently, faster. There's a few more, but I'll kind of stop there. And one big thing that happened yesterday or before yesterday, not specifically in the testing world, but it's something certainly a lot of us are watching, is Anthropic launched Claude, I believe 3.5 Sonnet, the new one. and that basically is enabling the AI, or Claude in this case, to interact with the computer. So to use the computer, your computer, as if a human was using it. So it's no longer looking at, for example, if you're looking at a browser, and you can drive the browser with Selenium, for example, or Cypress, or any other automation tool. but it's this launch yesterday. It's in beta, of course, but it's supposed to look at the screen of the entire computer as a human, and then based on a set of instructions or a set of goals that you provide, the AI will figure out how to pull the information, how to use it, and how to deliver you the outcome that you're looking for. So be it automating a workflow, a business workflow for you, where you pull data from different applications and you use it to, in an HR system, for example, or be it for, creating tests, for example. That's something we're taking a look at as well. But that's certainly a different evolution, or step evolution, if you will, from the iterative evolutions that we've been seeing over the last several months. So that's really exciting stuff, and we're keeping track of that.
Yeah, I think I wanted to add on Alex. I think the key word there is trust. Can we trust, right? Can we trust AI now? I think you mentioned about step by step. I think we need to start trusting it step by step. We see, okay, it works here, then we can build some more on top of that, right? So I think trusting it, it's still a step by step process. It's not just you, but basically your whole organization need to trust it, right? Need to trust, the implementation of that, because there's a lot of things that you need to think about. Anjali mentioned about regulatory. Yeah, there's a lot of those. Can we trust? I guess the key is, can we trust the AI? What's being produced, is good, and is and efficient, and can help us instead of, right. So just want to make sure to mention that.
Yeah,
I'm going to.
just one last point I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
You should just imagine uh, uh, a specific any industry where the IT team says that, oh, I have employed deployed AI solutions to my testing, and that has reduced the cost by 2 million for this release cycle or whatever. And then the business goes and says that, okay, now because you have used so much AI in your testing, I have to increase my user acceptance testing budget by 4 times because I don't trust what you are actually putting in production. It won't be of any use, right? So again, as exactly that whole trust word, right? And Richard raised a very interesting point, that the entire organization has to trust, right? It's not just the dev team, it's not just the testing team, it's not just this team, that team, or SRE ops team. It's the entire enterprise has to put their trust in the use cases that are being selected for the ROI to be really there. Otherwise, yeah, we will increase somewhere, we'll decrease somewhere, we will not reach. Yeah. So
Do we? I'm going to go ahead and throw a wrench there in the trust machine that we're building. Do we need to trust, or do we need to trust but verify as well? I think we're still at that early stage where we need to trust but verify, right? I mean, it will be a while before we can actually just go ahead and I think we were just talking more of an alignment. But I mean, the trust is there. I think. I mean, I think Alex, you may agree, and all of you may agree with me, that the human element cannot go away from any one of these implementations.
yeah.
So probably I'll switch that, Lucio, if you allow me. Probably instead of trust and verify first, and then you can trust, right?
There you
I
go.
want to verify first. I want to make sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just again one another interesting statement that I heard recently is, we were all talking that, oh, testing is a commodity business now, development is a commodity business, support is and then there was a statement that everything can be a commodity except for the people that you bring on the table, right?
Uh-huh.
So that's a very interesting thing, and it resonated with me so well that exactly all businesses can be, okay, yeah, testing services very commodity, this very commodity. Eventually it all boils down to the people that are there, that are making that happen. and I don't think so that that's going anywhere. That there will be a click of the button and poof, everything is done and it's in production.
Yeah.
That's we are little far from there. Maybe
Yeah,
sometime.
again, I mean, that really resonates with me, Anjali, because like I said, last year, a lot of experimentation. And one of the biggest lessons learned is really to put the people at the center. So most of our, um, uh, uh, what we did with most of the feedback was not to build new features based on that feedback, was really to spend a lot of time and invest a lot in the user experience. So working with UX designers to take the feedback from that we received on the use of AI, different use cases of AI in our products, to really make sure that the person that is interacting with the AI is feeling comfortable, is starting to gain the trust. How can we make that jump, right? Make that person start trusting it easier, and is chunking it in smaller pieces proves to be one of those strategies, and many others. But you're right, like the people at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how advanced technology is, these applications being built are going to be used by people. So,
Yep.
While that's happening, while we're building applications for people, people still need to have their hands in the validation, testing process, etc. And that's how you eventually gain the trust, right? So that really resonated with me as well.
If I write code to test my code, who will test the code that I have written to test my code?
We have to understand the importance of a word maintenance first. Maintenance is just like a subscription that you are paying every month without even being using it. This is that we are using it. And every organization, whether it is a startup, consultancy organization, or a product-based company, only looking for three factors: how to reduce the cost, how to increase the quality, and how we can quickly deliver the product. But somewhere maintenance is the thing where we are actually not even looking for sometimes. Now, as per my experience, 5 different key points that I really observe, and 5 consequences have 5 different results. So very first is bugs in production, where you can say that defect leakage is there. If we are not maintaining our test cases or the consequences, we can't even satisfy our customer, because customer is the king hyphen queen, you can say that, of the market. So we have to satisfy it from that area as well. Now, path panic. Path panic is bit, you can say that, managerial term I'm using here. If we don't know the correct path to maintain the particular test that we have created, then there is no sense of using that particular thing. The main result of that path panic is we are actually missing the deadlines. And when we are missing the deadlines, automatically escalations will happen. And when escalation word will come into the picture, we only known where is your tester. No one is actually talking about development at that point in time. So this is a very real scenario. Followed by, at the end, cost is quite very high, and we can't expect ROI as per the cost that we have already invested. So basically, as a tester, automation or maintenance that we are actually looking for compounding effect. But if the cost is high, we can't even looking for a high ROI. We are only ultimately, letting down our cost to high and result is very low. So there is no sense. Followed by like reputation hits. For example, if we are working for a big client and we still are not be able to maintain all those things, then there is a very high chance that we are actually losing all those opportunities for the near future as well. Just because of these particular functionalities, companies are not even surviving because they are looking for big enterprise clients, but at the end, they are not be able to maintain all those points that they have, maintained for the other things. Now, followed by the thing is we are actually calculating the business impact or not. Because at the end, cash flow should be there. It should not gonna hamper with all those things. So if we are using these 5 consequences as per my experience, if we can take care of all those things, we can survive. But if we are not following all those 5 pointers, still, believe me or not, Lucio, and everyone who is watching, we are in the wrong direction. So these are my observations as per my experience and perception, Lucio. There are so many KPIs for that particular thing that you have to follow. First of all, understanding the strategy part. That's the most important point. If your organization is not be able to understand the strategy part, planning is only planning until if we are not executing, because execution is the main thing. Then only you can perform audit. Now go back to the real life example. Right now, for example, in Salesforce or in a CRM space, latest release is winter 25 is running, and in the last month spring was there. In the spring, so many you can say that additional functionalities has been removed by the Salesforce itself. Now, by point in time, audit is much needed, because your test scenarios are totally, based on the previous versions. But what about the production level maintenance? So this is the one of the parameter for test case audit. Other than that, we are now testers are bit Gen Zs in nature. They generally try to close the ticket without even know what is the acceptance criteria for the same. So in the test case audit, are we actually following the acceptance criteria or not? And then if they are not following that particular acceptance criteria, then at the end, what they will say, it is working on my machine, it is not working on your machine. That's
Right.
the point. Other than that, you have mentioned like communication, but I want to add one more thing. I generally follow the 2C rule: communication with the collaboration. Because if there is no
Excellent.
collaboration, then there is no sense of communication. Because if I am saying you hi and you say hello, and then I say how are you, then you will be offline. Acknowledgement is missing. Impropriate, you can say that message is there. So communication is the key to success. But how we can set the communication, that's the main thing. For example, again, real life example. I have reported one bug to Hema, and I have written in the chat, Hema, hi Hema, I found this bug. I found this bug. Nothing mentioned. Hema will reply. Hema is replying me, question mark. What is this Gandharv? Then Gandharv will say, okay. Now Gandharv is confused. Hema is also confused. Now Lucio guide us. Lucio conveyed me, Gandharv, always start the communication with us by setting the context. If as a tester we are not setting the context, then there is no sense of performing testing. Then there is no chance to achieve the good quality. There is nothing called quality, good quality. Other than that, wearing a t-shirt of quality is everyone's responsibility will not gonna ensure you quality. As a tester, you have to understand the responsibility. As a tester, you have to understand the accountability as well. Because if something is actually breaking in the production level, where is tester? But if everything is working fine in the production, where is my developer?
Right.
That's the thing. Other than that, adoption and learning. These two things that we have to take care of. Because learning, you can learn from blogs, you can learn from podcasts, you can from each and everything. But are we actually practically implementing all those things in our daily lives or not? Because Hema has also mentioned one thing, Gen AI. Gen AI. Are we capable enough to learn Gen AI or not?
Right.
Believe me or not, earn the skills, and then you can say that you are confident enough. For example, if you don't know how to write a prompt, then how you can expect from a chat GPT that that chat GPT will give you the correct output? Until and unless if you don't know how to write a prompt as a tester, it is just like a function of garbage in and then garbage out.
Right.
So these are the basic things. As a tester, I'm not saying as a developer, as a quality professional, we have to take care of. Other than that, believe me or not, if you don't have a clean understanding, I'm not saying good understanding, clean understanding. Because if you have a good, clean understanding, you are 100% confident enough in order to boost the confidence in the software or in a service or in a product on which you are currently working upon. So these are my observations from my practical experience that I generally adopt in order to maintain all those things.
So, Lucio, first thing, plan. Please spend time planning what you want to do as a maintenance, right? So, and also, please, when I say plan, not just the way you want to do it, have it in your roadmap itself, right? In your strategy, in your roadmap. 2, investment. Please plan your investment both in terms of effort, in terms of budget, in terms of tools, in terms of learnability, in terms of adaptability, all those kind of things. People just overlook investment completely. They are okay to do it now. Later on, they just do it. It's like in performance, right? Performance testing is again an afterthought, right? What they do is, I will do, it's all working fine, and say, I don't want this kind of a bandwidth. But later on, when it is not scaling up, they're willing to throw in more hardwares and more bandwidth and all those things, which is actually multi costly is what I would say. Look into reusability factor. It's important that you look for reusability, right? Because oftentimes you've seen the same piece of code across different modules being rewritten. So it's actually making it more costly. Can you kind of a create set of libraries that can be reused, and the cost is also less, and it's also lightweight kind of a stuff. Otherwise, it's making the whole test suite more bulky. Try and do, if you can do adopt a modular approach. Don't make it into monolithic. Adopt a modular approach is another thing that I think. Just don't jump into automation. Just because somebody's saying we need to do automation, don't jump into it. There's nothing like one size fits all. Please adopt, a more, I would say, microscopic view. Take second opinion, to see whether the scale. Look for, alternatives, it's a possibility or not. Don't jump into the tools as well. So while you spend as much time on this, but you also have to look at the long-term view. Is this thing 2 quarters from now, 20, for 8 quarters from now, is it going to work, scale kind of a stuff? So these are certain things if you adopt, and having a proper knowledge management. And also, please, we need to ensure that the team is constantly made aware. Sometimes it has to become a cultural part of it, not just, consciously. It has to become so much that it becomes a culture de facto kind of thing. Then a lot of these things just gets eliminated. Your maintenance becomes a lot more smoother, a lot more easier. And also the ROI, the return of investment of all this also actually yields results. Otherwise, while per se automation would have yield result, but the maintenance is becoming such a big elephant out there, you're probably spending more, effort, more budget just to make it work. That maintenance itself is making it work. So that is where we have seen a lot of places that is becoming a challenge for us. So oftentimes I've also seen in, when we have got into it to do some kind of an assessment, we have seen that there is one team doing the automation, another team doing the maintenance part of it. So which means the knowledge of the maintenance team will be so different from the knowledge of this one. So there is no handshake that is happening. So these are the things which is, when it is not collaborative, they are not on the same plane, not on this, this one, there is going to be differences that is cropping in. At the end of the day, the enterprises are the people who are actually losing in the bargain.
We go through our projects and basically dissect them and figure out who do we need functionally, who is the best person to test a project. And then we take all of those requirements and break them down into workflows. User journeys, mapping, we do a lot of that. Personas, we try to take on the perspective of the customer. So it's not just the functional side of the testing, but we take on that UAT kind of perspective to make sure that we really are creating a holistic approach to what we are going to automate. So we take apart those workflows, we break them into smaller chunks, kind of as if you were approaching a regression suite. You want to do a login, you want to create an object, you want to select that object, and you want to finalize that object, whatever that means in your application. So we take those down and break them apart to figure out, how do we approach those? How do we create building blocks within applications like Katalon? It works very well with creating smaller test cases and building that suite that creates that reusable artifacts to be able to bridge the gap and kind of create a full end-to-end workflow process. So I think part of the conversation, as well as how, as a testing group and unit, is it working, right? How do you boost your efficiency as a team? And I polled a number of testers within organization, coworkers, and just colleagues. And I said, hey, you've been using automation for 5 years now or 3 years now. What's your best ROI? What have you done in your organization that has made the biggest impact? And, one of them said, I was able to create 200 scripts. I run it every night at like 4 in the morning, or every morning at 4 in the morning.
And when I come into work in the morning, I have a report that shows here's, the flakiness of my system. Okay, normally that test would have taken one person 5 to 8 hours. Never mind doing it 200 times, over the course of a day. So that was a huge ROI to that group, because they were able to set it up, put it on a scheduler, have it run every morning, and come in and know the results of that. Other people said, okay, I need strictly API testing. That's all we did. Every developer uses it, every QA person uses it. So it wasn't just a testing usage of the tool. All their developers wrote their unit test in automation tools to be able to just further enhance the efficiency of what they were doing. And they're strictly API tests. So, they're calling the SOAP puzzles, they're calling REST URLs, and it knocked it down by 5 hours a person to be able to do this in an automation tool. So there's a lot of different ways that each person and each group, each project, each, module that they're using can boost the performance of their teams. One of the gaps, I think, is how people transition from manual testing into automation testing if they're not familiar with it. How to get a team to adapt to, I'm that veteran. I'm used to writing all my test scripts and executing them myself. And now I'm just going to hand that over to somebody else who's going to automate it. Well, now what do I do? It's that knowledge, or whether it's, even if it's AI, it's what do I do now? Well, now you take on a different role or better role, because now you still have to build that strategy. You still have to figure out all the pieces and the components that have to get tested. But now, instead of you spending tens of, hours on it, now you can hand that off to someone else once you've built your structure and say, this is what we need. This is what we're expecting. This is where we're thinking it may go wrong. Hand it off to an automation expert, and then they can create that whole structure for you. Now you can go take on the next project. You don't have to spend all that time. So I think just the shift in thinking as well can benefit people to learn from, how do I go from being manual to automation? Or it's they want to pick up the skills. Somebody that's, friendly with writing code, reading code, understanding it. They want to take on, I want to go learn how to do automation. There's more classes on writing the scripts and everything else. So, and if they have that developer, like I call it developer brain, where they can write the code and really execute it, then they can become an automation expert as well. Because now you have the testing part of the logic that you need and the understanding of an application and what's really expected. Now you can take that and translate that into code to be able to create your automation scripts. Yeah, I mean, manual testing is always going to be needed because it's always the starting point of testing in an organization. And it's to be able to do 100% automation is always a lofty goal. We always try, but like you said in the beginning, a lot of organizations are only automating 10% because I'd rather put 10% on the shelf that can be reused every day, every hour, every upgrade, versus put 70% on the shelf and I never use it. I've seen so many projects come out to where, oh yeah, we automated this, this whole section. Okay, great. Now who's going to update it when it needs updating? Oh, well, we didn't think about that. Or, how often are we going to run it? Well, it only ran until we went live. The minute we went live, it stopped working. Now you've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on automating scripts, on the software, on the tools, and then it sits on, it's literally sitting on the shelf, not being used, because that thought hasn't been put into it on how can we keep it going? How do we, expand upon it and keep it running after a go live?